spoiled, tasteless, putrid, stale, refuse, and unclean is a food dear to the dull. Let us try to understand these characteristics of food of the mode of tamas, stonus. Food of the mode of tamas, stonus are firstly spoiled and uncooked. Salads are uncooked in a way, but they cannot be counted within this category because they are of the mode of sattva goodness. Why is it said in this verse that foods of the mode of tamas, stonus, are spoiled and undercooked? If you get cabbage and cook it, then all of its tastes have gone away, whereas if you eat it raw, then you get its taste. This is what medical science says. But if food needs to be cooked in order to get its taste, but is uncooked and is not fully ripe, then it is of the mode of tamas, stonus. It often happens when you go to eat at somebody's house that you say that the potatoes are still a bit hard. This can be counted within the mode of tamas, stonus. This is food that should be completely ripened and yet has not been ripened. If you're eating chapatis that have gone black in some places and have gone unripe in some places, and the flour sticks onto your hand, then this is of the mode of tamas, stonus. Food that is spoiled and uncooked is of the mode of tamas, stonus. Second, foods of the mode of tamas, stonus are tasteless, because all the taste in them has gone away. From what does the taste go away? Shri Krishna had said in the 8th verse that food with taste in it of the mode of sattva goodness, but food from which all the taste has gone away is of the mode of tamas, stonus. This is because why do people eat food? It is for the taste. If the taste has gone away, then what are you eating? It is just useless waste. The books of nutrition have a rule that the taste of food goes away if you perform 3 activities. Even doctors say this. There is not much of the mode of sattva goodness remains in them. What are these 3 activities? The first is to fry the food, the second is to burn the food, and the third is to make the food go rotten. If you do these 3 things, then the taste of the food goes away. If you fry anything, then you have destroyed all its energy and vitamins. If a person likes fried food a lot, then consider that they like food of the mode of tamas, stonus. These include, for example, foods such as fries, samosas, puris, fried potatoes, kachoris, and other savories. All of these foods are of the mode of tamas, stonus. When foods are fried, then their taste goes away. The mode of sattva goodness that was there within them went away, and all the rubbish has come in. This is what happened when you fried foods. The second way to remove the taste of foods is to burn them. People who like burnt food like food of the mode of tamas, stonus. People may ask that who eats burnt food? Shall I remind you? People like burnt handvo, which is a baked dish made from wheat flour, sesame seed, and spices. It has become stuck with the utensils. The person eating even says that, pass it to me after peeling it off. People eat burnt handvo with mixtures of spices, and this mixture of spices also has a bad smell. It has been there for 8 months or a year. How much of the mode of tamas, stonus is this? The third types of food whose tastes have gone away are foods that have gone rotten. People may ask who likes food that has become rotten. Shall I even remind you of this? When you eat fresh grapes, then it's regarded as a mode of sattva goodness. But when these grapes go rotten, they are fermented, taken out of machines, are given in very nice bottles, then one who likes this, such a person likes food of the mode of tamas, stonus. This is of the mode of tamas, stonus. This is rotten. Fermentation is the activity of making food go rotten. It cannot be made until a certain amount of bacteria come into it. In our scriptures, drinking alcoholic drinks is called the biggest sin of all. You may find it strange to learn this. People who eat meat may be forgiven, and by saying this, I'm not advocating this because I'll speak about this when it comes up later, but people who drink alcohol are considered extremely bad. The reason for this is that by drinking this, the person loses their control over the mind. They lose their power to make decisions. They lose their thoughts of dharma. And if the more recent smriti, scriptures by memory or Purana have said it, then we can still think about it, but it's actually described in the Upanishads. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there's a mantra that is written, which is a sutra, formula of the Chandogya Upanishad. Steno hiranyasya suram pitamscha guru talpam avasan brahmaha chatte patani chatvara panchama sharam che. He who steals gold, he who drinks wine, he who dishonors his teacher's bed, who kills a Brahmin, these 4 do fall, and also the 5th who has company with them. The Chandogya Upanishad says that 4 types of people are great sinners. There are 5 in total, but it says 4 types of people are great sinners. Who are these? The first are thieves who steal gold. This is the first great sinner. The second are those who drink wine. The third is one who has illegitimate relations with a guru's wife. Such a person is a great sinner. And the fourth is one who kills a Brahmin. These 4 types of people are great sinners. Therefore, the 4 types of great sinners are those who steal gold, those who drink wine, those who have illegitimate relations with a guru's wife, and those who kill a Brahmin. Such people are the greatest of all sinners. And who is the fifth? One who has company with any of these 4 types of people is a fifth great sinner. One who keeps company with such people is also a great sinner. Such people may not be doing these things, for example, stealing gold, drinking wine, having illegitimate relations with a guru's wife, or killing a Brahmin, but there are many places in society where people drink wine, and those who have company with them are also great sinners. This is what the Upanishads say. When I say this, then its authenticity increases much more. The Shruti, the scriptures to be heard themselves say this. Therefore, the excuse will not work that all of these people were taking it, and I was just sitting there. If a person has company with such people, then such a person is also a great sinner. One should not even have company with such people, and no excuse can work. For example, we do not go regularly, we only go occasionally. Great sinners also do their sins occasionally. The next characteristic of food of the mode of donus, it is that it's putrid. This means that it has a bad smell. This is food from which rotten smells come. Many great personalities even put onions and garlic within this category. These are called foods of the mode of donus, because they give off a rotten smell and that they have an effect on the mind. And if you look at it from another perspective, then garlic is very good for your health. It reduces cholesterol and is very good for your vitality. But if you have to perform a worship or a fast, then you should at least leave it for that time. Do not take it when you're performing a worship or fast. If you're taking it as medicine, then one cannot deny you this, but according to the scriptures, these are foods of the mode of donus. Sharira madhyam kalu dharma sadhanam. Only when the body is there can it be used as a medium for performing dharma. Only if the body is there can one perform bhakti devotion. This means that if you do not take it for the taste, or if you do not take it to titillate the sense organ of your tongue, and then there's a problem with it. But they are foods that are putrid and have a rotten smell. The next characteristic of food of the mode of donus is that they are stale. There is a limit in being stale. How stale would it have to be? Our scriptures say that when one night has gone, then the food has become stale. This is when one night has gone since the food was made. Therefore, in short, all the food that we have put into our fridge is of the mode of donus. This is a simple and straightforward explanation of it. When mangoes are cheap during the winter season, the juice is taken out, then they are put in deep frost. Then the people who eat it during the rain of November and the cold of December, such people are eating food of the mode of donus. If you eat mangoes of the season, then they're of the mode of sattva goodness. Why am I saying this? It is because food of the mode of sattva goodness can become of the mode of rajas, passion, and food of the mode of sattva goodness can become of the mode of donus, if we look at these qualities. There is also a scientific reason behind this. The longer that the food is lying there, then the more bacteria that gathers inside the food. If you look at this from this perspective, then there's no perfect religion like the Jain scriptures. You see this during the Purushan festivals. It is so perfect. During night time, you cannot eat and the matter's finished. It's called chover. If you eat before sunset and after the sun has set, then you cannot eat. Therefore, there is not even the question of the food becoming stale. I do not even know what the Jain scriptures say about food that has been left overnight and is eaten the next day, but there is one thing that is scientific, is that you should not keep food during the dark. And there were no fridges in ancient times, so people were always eating fresh food. Food will be digested at the right time, people's health will remain good, and everything would be nice. Food that is stale is of the mode of donus. Food that is refuse is also of the mode of donus. They are refuse in that they have been tasted by someone else, or are the remains of what has been eaten by someone else. They are liked by people of the mode of donus very much. They eat food that has been tasted already by somebody else. One person has placed food in his plate and somebody else eats the remains, and they do this. And many people say that if they eat leftovers, then this is a symbol of love. It is not a symbol of love, but it's a symbol of the mode of donus. The scriptures do not say anywhere that eating leftovers is a symbol of love. It is a symbol of the mode of donus. This is when people are eating themselves and the child comes close and they give food to the child. This is nothing else apart from an exchange of bacteria. They give crumbs that have been falling into their mouths to somebody else. Now that buffet meals have come, this has led to a lot of peace in reality, but because before people could only eat food that they had ordered. Before, when people fed others, when people had properly eating the food that was served, then when rice was brought at the end, then before serving the rice, it was forced upon people to eat it and share it. Elders will remain, and youngsters may not about this, that these people kept an item that was forced on people. In particular, everybody likes gulab jambu, dough consisting of milk solids. The caterer would come out wearing dirty clothes. There's a handout for you there. Dirty clothes. In fact, I won't call the caterer, but I'll call him the torturer. Then somebody such as the paternal uncle or the maternal uncle of the girl would come and force this on people. They give it to everyone saying, take it, and everybody would be saying that we don't want it. They give it into people's mouths. It is given onto one person's mouth and it's given onto another person's mouth. How many people have been given this leftover food? And how many people doing this think that we are very good? They keep the waiter with them and dip it into the syrup once or twice and give it to the other person. If a person is the 50th person in the line, then he has eaten the leftovers of 50 people. This is a person of the mode of dullness. I remember that when I was young, then my aunt had such feelings on her face. When the food would come, then I'd gotten up without having eaten the rice, and when I'd gone to eat at many weddings. Now it's God's grace that I don't need to go, and it's completely closed. But at that time, I'd gotten up at many weddings when I realized that gulab jambu is coming. It's leftover food that is mode of dullness. Many people do not even think about this matter. This is of the mode of dullness. I just say that you should not give this to people for reasons of hygiene. Dharma says that it is of the mode of dullness, but even in terms of hygiene, this should not be given to people. How can you give the bacteria of one person to another person? God also says that food that is amedium, unclean and impure, is of the mode of dullness. The definition of amedium is given by the scriptures. This is because if you look at it one way, then the meaning of amedium can be that which you should not take. Amedium is defined as food that is unclean and impure. But what type of impurity is this? This is explained in two ways. Impure food is that food that is manifested from the sperm of a male or the egg of a female. If I were to say in simple language, then impure food is non-vegetarian food. This is food that is amedium, unclean and impure. The reason for this is that it is manifested from the sperm of a male and the egg of a female. This includes meat, fish and eggs. Nowadays, I do not have to speak about it much because people in the West are beginning to turn towards vegetarianism, and these people have begun to understand that there is no food that is greater than food from plants. They have reached to such an extent that these people who are also vegans, these people do not even drink milk. This is because milk is also born of animals. Such people strictly eat food that only comes from plants. And even on airlines, the category of vegans has arisen now. They do not even drink milk. They do not take milk or milk products. They totally only eat food that comes from plants. But many people give arguments that when we say that there's life inside animals and therefore we should not eat them, there's also life inside plants. And there is even life in the plant kingdom. They ask, why then can we eat plants? They say that even eating plants is violence. Yet it is violence because there is life inside plants and there is no denying this, but the Gita says that plants are not impure. When plants are born, then they are not born from the sperm of a male or egg of a female. The reproduction of plants is not sexual reproduction if we say it using scientific terminology. It is always asexual reproduction. Secondly, when you take plants, then you are not destroying the entire plant kingdom. If you eat mangoes of a mango tree, then you do not have to kill the whole mango tree to eat the mango. You're not giving the mango tree. But whenever there's animal food, then you're killing that life. Whatever it is, be it chicken, we are killing it entirely. And we cannot grow it. When we eat a mango from a mango tree, then we can grow more mangoes by planting seeds. You get to hear these arguments very rarely because you see so many other arguments in magazines, etc. There's perhaps not this question in India, but it is questioned a lot in the West. Some people tell me that this happens in India amongst the youth, but this question harasses people in the West a lot. The people who went from India to the West in the early 70s went with the culture of India. Therefore, they've been living there all these years for around 40 to 50 years. Despite this, nowadays, they can get everything, but before, when they could not get everything, then they were living, eating milk and bread, but they did not take anything else. And the youngsters go to universities or go on to study and begin eating the foods that they do not eat then, and the parents get a lot of pain. And the youngsters give arguments. In particular, when I'm giving seminars to youngsters, then it's asked, when we eat plants, then we do not kill plants. But when people eat animals, then they kill the animals. This is a very big difference. The third thing, which even scientists have proved, is that there are some hormones and secretions in the bodies of animals which cause detriment to the people who eat them. There are no such hazardous hormones in plants. An example of this is adrenal. They give these hormones names. Adrenal is such that if a certain amount of it is in the body, then a person's sensitivity is fine, but when the secretion of adrenal increases, then the person becomes very impulsive. A person was extremely angry in such that the secretion of the adrenal increases inside him. That is why a person becomes very angry. These people have proved that whenever an animal is killed, then the hormones inside the animal's body release a lot. If somebody comes to give us that, then how much will the hormones in our bodies start releasing? And we would get such a big fear that someone would kill us. In the same way, there is a life inside animals, and when animals are about to be killed, then at that time, out of fear, the secretion of adrenal inside the bodies of animals increase so much that it goes inside each and every cells, and when these are eaten, it becomes a component of the body of the person who eats them. This can never be possible inside plants. The fourth reason is that the progeny that is born from animals has a part of vasanas, desires, filled inside it. This happens inside animals, but in plants who grow only out of nature, there are no vasanas, desires filled inside them. That is why you will see that those pets that people kept inside their houses, such people know that if there is a dog alone or a cat alone, then sometimes when the vasanas and desires become awakened, then they become very upset. But if you have planted tulsi, the holy basil plant, in your courtyard, then you will never see it like this. Whatever happens to it happens by itself. But the reproduction that takes place in animals is a part of vasanas, desires. When they turn a certain age, then it begins to happen. It is natural. This thing is not inside plants. All the moving that happens inside plants happens by itself. It is only nature that is working on it. That's why food that comes from animals is bad. There's high cholesterol in meat, and if you go to a doctor or nutritionist, then they'll explain it all to you, that what is said and what this type of thing is. But the spiritual reasons and emotional reasons are these. When people hear these reasons, then many people have given up meat, and they say that we have not heard it in this way. Otherwise, everybody gives medical reports, and it's written on cigarette boxes that statutory warning, smoking is injurious to your health. Yet people are still smoking cigarettes. This does not have an effect on them. It is not a good thing that is not having an effect on them, but when these reasons are given, then many people have given up meat. Again, when there is food that is born from animals, then you have to kill it first. That is why it is impure. And God has even gone to the extent of calling such food amedya, unclean and impure. Therefore, such food should not be eaten. This is because God only uses one word for food of the mode of tamas, and that is amedya, unclean and impure. I have made it clear by using these names, but God says that I do not even want to use these words. Just understand from the word amedya, unclean and impure, what I mean to say about them. The Supreme Soul goes to the extent when talking about this. I appeal a lot from the heart that when people are eating food of taste, then I pray to them to leave it. Mother Earth has all the resources for them to eat only vegetarian food. People who eat non-vegetarian food have such ridiculous arguments saying that if everybody becomes vegetarian, then the people who are vegetarian now will have difficulties. Why are you worrying about this? How ridiculous is this? Is this even an argument? The earth has a lot. It has so much. The earth is being made treeless in order to give food that is made from animals. I have read reports and the research that environmentalists I've given is worth bowing one's head down to, such as the work that they're doing. The grass that has to be given to one goat in order to prepare it for being made meat, and then the grass that the goat eats where it pulls the whole grass, including the root, if such that the goats are fed for 4 or 5 years in this way, then the land will become desolate. And the amount of grass that one goat eats is enough to feed and maintain an entire family in the area forever. Therefore, the argument is that these people that there's not enough plants on earth is a ridiculous argument and a wrong argument. These people are making land desolate. This is impure. God says that such food is dear to the people of the mode of tamas, donas. They get wrong thoughts, the body is ruined, and all of this happens. Even the way of taking food should be right. Even if food of the mode of sattva, goodness, is taken with rag, attraction, or attachment, then it becomes of the mode of rajas, passion. I'll give a simple and straightforward example. Let us say that you take an apple that is of the mode of sattva, goodness. It is of the mode of sattva, goodness. If one thinks in the mind that I have not eaten an apple for so long and I should eat it, then this apple is of the mode of rajas, passion. This is because it has come as a result of attraction. And if I were to go further than this, then if covetousness comes within this, or temptations come within this, then it becomes of the mode of tamas, dullness. And if one eats more than they need to, then it becomes of the mode of tamas, dullness. One has eaten 1, 2, 4, 10, and then keeps eating, saying, pass me more. Who knows when I'll be able to eat them again? When one does this, then the apple that was called of the mode of sattva, goodness, becomes of the mode of tamas, dullness. This is when one does not know the limits of how much they should eat. What is the right amount of food? Earlier, I gave the right amount, that half your stomach should be filled with food, a quarter should be filled with water, and the quarter should remain empty. This is one set of portions according to Ayurveda. People in the villages say this in very simple language. What is the right amount of food? The right amount of food is that one is eating is such that one does not remember the stomach after eating. This is a phrase worth understanding. After eating, one should not remember the stomach. A person remembers his stomach at 2 times. The first time is that when he is hungry, he remembers his stomach. The second time is when he's eaten too much that he remembers the stomach. It is fine that one remembers the stomach when they're hungry, but when one remembers the stomach after eating, then this means that they've eaten more than they need, or that they've eaten less than they need. If a person has a hunger of 5 chapatis and gets up having eaten 2 chapatis, then they keep remembering the stomach that something should go inside. The right amount of food is taken when one does not remember the stomach after eating. One who eats like this, such a person eats food of the mode of sattva, goodness. Now we will see the spiritual meaning a little. In the 3 verses that are the 8th verse, the 9th verse, and the 10th verse, in these 3 verses it feels as if God has described food. We have discussed foods such as hanvas, and therefore we feel as if God is speaking about the foods that we eat. No, if we go a little deeper, then we'll see that rather than speaking about food, God's cause is to speak about the eater. God has not spoken about the food, God has spoken about the person who ate the food. God has spoken about what a person of the mode of sattva, goodness, who eats food does, what a person of the mode of rajas, passion, who eats the food does, and what a person of the mode of tamas, dullness, who eats food does. Rather than speaking about food, God has spoken more about the person who eats the food. This is one thing, and there is another second thing that is very beautiful. If you look at the 8th verse, then God has described a person of the mode of sattva, goodness, who eats food. If you look at the verse, then what happens is that God is describing that from one's life, vitality, strength, health, joy, and cheerfulness increases, and is therefore showing the consequences. Therefore, the food from which one's life increases, one's vitality increases, one's strength increases, one's health increases, one's strength increases, one's joy increases, and one's cheerfulness increases, is food of the mode of sattva, goodness. And God says that food that is tasty, oily, nourishing, and agreeable is of the mode of sattva, goodness. Therefore, the food is shown later. And if you read this verse in detail, then food is not described at all, and its tastes are not described at all. In fact, nothing like that has been described at all. Only the consequences are shown. It is said that food of the mode of sattva, goodness, is tasty, oily, nourishing, and agreeable. For the mode of sattva, goodness, first the consequences are shown, and then the food is described. God is trying to show that people of the mode of sattva, goodness, are contemplative. They think about the consequences first, and then they eat food according to the consequences they see of eating the food. Therefore, consequences are given the most importance. People of the mode of sattva, goodness, think that what will be the consequences of the food that I eat. They think about the consequences first, and not just about food, but about every matter in life. They think about the consequences first, and then they perform actions. Such people are people of the mode of sattva, goodness. Everything they do it after thinking. This is why the consequences are described first. In the 9th verse, God described what people of the mode of rajas, passion, like. Over here you'll see that God has first shown the food by saying that the foods that are bitter, sour, saltish, very hot, pungent, harsh and burning are liked by people of the mode of rajas passion. And what are the consequences of these? God says that these foods produce pain, grief and disease. The consequences are shown at the end. The meaning of this is that these people of the mode of rajas passion first enjoy the material pleasures and think about the consequences later. These are people of the mode of rajas passion. They think about the consequences later, and people of the mode of passion certainly have intellects and they think, but they do not think at the time of enjoying material pleasures. After enjoying material pleasures, they think that I've done this and these consequences will come. This is because if they had not thought about the consequences from the beginning, then perhaps they would not have done the wrong thing and they have not been falling within the bondage of karmas. But people of the mode of rajas passion are such that they perform the actions and then they think about the consequences. First they eat what they like, and then after 2 days they think, because I ate this there, this is why I have this acidity. Why then don't you stop it? But they won't do it, and when it comes in front of them again, they will eat it. These are people of the mode of rajas passion. And in the 10th verse, when the mode of tamas, dullness was described, only food was described, and the consequences were not even spoken about. This means that human beings of the mode of tamas, dullness, only keep enjoying material pleasures, and they do not even think about the consequences. You see that it's not written in the 10th verse about people of the mode of tamas, dullness, that this happens and that happens. This is absolutely not said. It is only said that that which is spoiled, tasteless, putrid, stale, refuse and unclean is a food dear to the people of the mode of tamas, dullness, and the matter is finished. Only the food is described and the consequences are not even described. This is because people of the mode of tamas, dullness, do not even think about the consequences. God has described this in such a subtle way. Now from the 11th verse, God will show us the different types of yajna. Yajnas are also 3 types. Let's go to the next verse.